Hey, I'm an addict named Matt. I was kind of surprised when my sponsor asked me to do this. There's a lot of people in his life that, he could have asked, and it meant a lot that he asked me. I've known Burt for about 15 months, and, he's been a brother, he's been a friend, but, at the root of it all, he's been a sponsor. Because, when I first came in here, that's what I needed. And the thing about where I'm at today in my recovery is that I try to associate with people that are, applying the things that we learn in here on the outside. It's very easy for me personally to come in and sound really good, but when it comes down to it, how am I living? And those are the people that I saw when I first got clean, people that were living what they were talking. And boy, this is fear right here. Holy shit. And that's just it. I've seen Burt. I've seen him do things in his life that he's asked me to do, and he's never been willing to compromise on certain things. And I really appreciate everything that he's done for me and that he does for this fellowship. I think that's very important. And I'm just very blessed to call him a friend. And with that, I give you Burt J.
I'm a recovering addict called Burt. Boy, I'm trying to recover. Thank God most of the people here are my friends. Most of you. Everybody asked me, was I nervous? And I really wasn't nervous until I walked in here and everybody started asking me if I was nervous. And then David C. said, I love you, and started saying all this gushy stuff, and he made me cry. So instead of going and praying, I had to go cry. But I would like to just take a moment, have a moment of silence to get focused and, pray for me that, I'll get something out of this and someone else will get something out of this tonight. Let's just take a moment, please. Okay, thanks. Everybody asked me if I was going to dress up tonight. And I said, yeah, I am dressed up. I come as a dickhead. There I am. What you see is what you get. Everybody said, be honest. So I was honest. They said, let God do the talking. So, God's doing the talking. And they said, be funny. Well, it was a little bit funny. A little bit. A little bit. It gets better. It gets worse.
The bad parts.
Usually when I, speak to a group, normally it's not this large, but, there's usually the people in the front row are real attentive. The ones in the middle, they might listen to something. And then the ones in the back, they're like, yeah, they're off having, daydreaming about their sexual fantasies. That's them back there. Ivan's back there. He is a sexual fantasy. I can tell you that. But this is my 38th straight Mountaineer Convention. After doing service for 19 years, they asked me to speak. So, there's those. Actually, I did speak here 12 years ago. I had 7 years clean. I have 19 years clean now. And well, thanks for applauding, but some of those times I was just abstinent, let's face it. I didn't have a lot of recovery during some of those periods. How many people here heard me share 12 years ago? There's a few. Gosh. Well, they're the only ones who are going to know whether I'm telling the truth tonight. You remember? Okay. I guess I better tell the truth. Now, I'll start out just a little bit and tell you a little bit about my story and where I came from, where I went. Not a lot about drugs because we all know about that. I was born in Fett County. I was a baby of 11. Everybody said I was spoiled rotten, but I never did see it. They say I'm still spoiled rotten. But I was raised, close to the New River Gorge Bridge. I used to go fishing, underneath the bridge, and they built the bridge over there, and they wouldn't let me fish underneath it anymore. So I had to build my own pond after that. But I had a fairly normal childhood up until about the age of 8. But I came home from church one day, and everybody was crying, and my sister said, "Run over to the neighbor's house," and they wouldn't tell me anything, but it was on an Easter Sunday, and I found out that my dad had committed suicide that day. And that was like, a chain of traumatic events. I just hardly ever would remember the good times. I would just remember the bad times. And until I got to the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. And my family we were of the old school that everything we shoved underneath the carpet, and if you didn't talk about it, it didn't happen. And I was 8 years old, all they would have had to say was that it was not anybody's fault. He was sick, and that's the way he felt was his only way out. And I would have understood that, but I lived most of my life thinking that I was responsible for his death because he wanted one more child, and it just happened to be me. And I thought, I was the cause of his death. But nobody ever talked about that. And today, some of my sisters won't talk about it, but I make them talk about it. And I talk about a lot of stuff. I don't really have any secrets in my life today. My sponsor lives in Florida. He knows about everything, but, some things I have a network of family and friends today that I can tell about probably 20, 30 people. I can tell about anything. And I hear people saying they just don't have anybody that will help them do anything, anybody they can talk to. I have hundreds and hundreds of people that I can talk to. I've got my little phone book here, and almost every number in there is an addict. Most of them are recovering. I don't take people's names out of my book if they've relapsed, because I keep hoping that they'll come back. The only time I take them out of my book is if they passed away. So that works for me. But at this time I went on to school in Fayette County, and I was like elected treasurer of my class, and I was like a big fish in a small pond, fairly popular. But my mother wanted to move to a larger school, so we moved to Kanawha County into one of the probably, I think at the time it was St. Albans High School. I think it was the biggest school in the state at this time. So I was a little fish in a big pond, but I was able to play football and played for a state championship high school team, and I was the starting defensive end on that, and I was real proud of that. But again, before the championship game, I tore my knee up, and I couldn't play the last few games, and that sort of devastated me. And about this time, I just had a bad experience with God, and to this day, I don't know what happened, but I just felt like that I was a piece of shit, and I was going to die and go to hell. That's just the way I felt. And I lived a lot of my life feeling this way, and until I got to the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. And then I found the God of my understanding in the third step, which is caring and loving, and, it's not going to condemn me and send me to hell. God's forgiven me for my past, and tomorrow is not yet here, so all I have is today. And if I'm denying my faith in a higher power, then I'm not living in today. So I try to most of the principles that I've learned, or most of the things that I live by, I've learned in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. But anyway, I went on and graduated from high school and went to West Virginia State College, got married, had a couple kids, and applied to go to dental school. And they accepted me, so I went to dental school, and it was really tough on me because I had to work my own way through, going to classes all day, working all night, studying whenever I could, and there was no financial backing for that. My wife worked at the time, and I worked at the university, and that was a tough time. And I wanted to quit every day. Every day I was there, I wanted to quit, but I just had something instilled into me to keep going. And so I kept going. But just before I got my degree, well, the first couple of years I wanted to quit every day. About the third year, I got into the clinic and started working on patients, and my grades improved, and I really enjoyed that. And instead of making straight C's, I started making A's and B's, and that really was good because I didn't know if I'd want to work into anybody's mouth or not. But you know, I enjoyed it, and working with people. But just before, I had a son and a daughter just before I graduated from dental school. A beautiful little daughter that I had got spinal meningitis one day and died the next, and it was just devastating. And you know, once again, you know, I blamed God, I blamed everybody, and I just went numb. You know, I hadn't used any drugs at the time. The only drug that I had used was, and it was not of my own volition, but they played a trick on me in pharmacology class. They had a couple of these little things, you know, this drug gave to one person, they gave a placebo, which didn't have anything in it, to someone else. And of course they put the ethyl alcohol in my drink because I was the only one in my class who didn't drink. And that was the only time I'd ever actually taken any alcohol, and I didn't do it of my own free will. So after my daughter died, you know, I graduated, and it was during the Vietnam War, and most everyone was of the dentists were getting drafted, and I was afraid I was going to get drafted, so I just went ahead and enrolled in the Air Force, and so they accepted me, and I sent them a letter telling them that you know, of my situation, and that I would like to be, if they would possibly give me an assignment on the West Coast. You know, I figured if I went to California, you know, the ocean and beautiful people, you know, everything would be okay. And they did give me a pretty good assignment. I went to Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, Arizona, and it was really great there. You know, I got to see Arizona University football, basketball. You know, got to travel to California through Death Valley, you know, Yosemite, you know, a lot of things. One of the days that I drove back home to visit West Virginia was the day that the Silver Bridge collapsed at Point Pleasant. So now you know how old I am, because that was a long time ago. But anyway, they kept wanting me to go to the officers club because I was the only one who didn't drink. So finally I said, okay, I'll go. And I went to the club and started drinking, and I just fell in love with it. I, you know, started obsessing and compulsing every day about, you know, where we were going to go and what we were going to do, and drinking, and so that's how my addiction got started. And you know, I didn't want to stay there because they weren't paying me as much money as I thought they could, that I could make in private practice. So I did come back to West Virginia and set up a practice. And I had another daughter that was born in Tucson, Arizona. So I came back home with a wife and 2 kids and set up a practice. And I was making lots of money and buying interstate property and really doing well. Had another son. And I was one of the coaches on our football team, basketball team, and we would, you know, after the games, the coaches would go to the bar, and we'd drink, and then, you know, I'd turn an ankle or something, and I could get my own pills, so I just started taking some. I never really thought anything about it until I realized one day I was carrying around a little bottle of pills in my pocket with me. But still, you know how denial is. I denied everything, and there was no problem. And of course, there wasn't a problem until one day they found me in the back of my office, and I had overdosed. And they carried me out on an ambulance, and I crossed the St. Elmo's Nitro Bridge. I had no pulse or respiration. And, you know, clinically, I was dead. And it wasn't my turn to die because they did revive me. And, you know, that was a pretty horrible time. And it was then I realized that I had a problem. And I decided that I should seek some help. So I agreed to go to treatment in Atlanta, Georgia. So I went to 28 days down there. I figured I had done a lot of using. I'd gone down there a lot just to use. I figured if I'd done a lot of using down there, then surely they could help to get me clean. They should. So I went down there. I just felt more comfortable. But of course, I didn't stay the 28 days. I only stayed 21. I knew what it was all about. Came back home, and my practice went down because everybody knew about that. So I set up another office in another part of the same county, and so I was working both of them. And my mother was ill at the time, and I went to some meetings. I went to the other fellowship. I went to NA, and I never really took it seriously. I just didn't believe that it worked. Get a sponsor and not call them, all the things that we do. And I had like 3.5 years clean, and thought I could go to Charleston and play some poker, because I always liked to play poker. And so I went up there one night, and they're drinking. No. Same old story. First night, no, I don't drink anything. Second night, no. Third night, I took a drink. And I said, yeah, that wasn't so bad. They laid some white powder down on the table. I said, I always wanted to try that, just one time. So I tried it one time. I tried it 2 times. I tried it 3 times, and it just went on and on and on. And I literally lost a whole year. And one day I woke up, what happened? I just wanted to try it once. And so, I came to the office one day, and there was all these cars in the parking lot, and I walk in, and lo and behold, there was a little circle of people sitting there, which is commonly called as an intervention. One of my sons was there, the girl that was working for me that was there, the chairman of the Concerned Dentist Committee was there. That couldn't happen to me. I was a member of the Concerned Dentist Committee. I was helping people get clean. But, I forgot. There were 2 state policemen there. So I threatened them, I'll sue. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not doing anything. But I did agree to go to Newark, Ohio. And it was really the day that saved my life, because that was October the 7th, 1989. That was, even after overdosing and almost dying, I still didn't get it. But the way I look at it, that was the second strike on me. And I look at it today as, if I mess up again and do something dumb like this, like using drugs, I may not get that. The next one's going to be the 3rd strike, and I'm going to be out. There's no guarantee I'm even going to get a foul tip. And I've seen an awful lot of my friends pass away. I was just thinking of some of the people that were here when, even after 15 years. There was a couple Georgias, Jeff A., Ron, Richard hung himself, Donald, Mikey Brown killed running from the cops. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. And not to mention, hundreds have died of a short illness. Is that too much reverberation? I don't know. Just a hair. Is this one better? That's Anito. That's the one I need to talk to. I still hear it. Oh, well, I can't do anything about that. Maybe you can? Okay. Anyway, I went to Newark, Ohio, and it was there that I was in a recovery house. It was there that I learned about going to meetings, sitting and talking to someone about recovery. They made me cook. I had to do my own dishes, clean up, and it cost me about $20,000, but I learned how to cook pork chops. It was probably worth it, because I couldn't cook anything. I always had someone waiting on me. But that was like really good for me. And it was there that they took us to a detox unit, and even after I'd had like 30, 45 days clean, I would go and share my story, and someone who may only have 1 or 2 days clean would actually nod their head and act like or be getting something that I was saying. And that really hooked me up to hospitals and institutions, because I realized then how it does work. And I've always been partial to going into treatment centers and jails and things like that, and I do that. I continue to do that today. And there's been a lot of times that I've felt like using, and I've gone to do a meeting, and it's really gotten me through the day because I made that commitment. I believe there's a book called 4 Agreements, like living up to your commitments, valuing your time, being impeccable with your word, being true to your word. I don't know what the other one is. I think those are 3 of them, but I believe in things like that, which is hard to do when I was using. But I came back, and after that, well, I forgot to tell you, they just wouldn't let me stay 28 days. They wanted me to stay a little bit longer. And at this time, I was in so much more denial than I was the first time I relapsed that, I didn't even realize how sick I was until later I saw some of the pictures and realized some of the things that I had done. But I just went for an evaluation. And, I thought they were going to evaluate me and send me home. But lo and behold, they kept me for 90 days. And, that was a long evaluation. They sent back home to the Concerned Dentist Committee, "Thank you for this unique referral," because I was truly unique. I thought I was different. So I came back, and I took it serious this time. Well, I had to give a piss test once a week, and I had to document 3 or 4 meetings a week. And so I said, "You make me go to 3 meetings a week? Screw you, I'll go to 7 meetings a week." So I did that. And, you're not going to tell me what to do. So in a way, I was showing them what to do. But a funny thing happened in this first year. I always say I didn't get very much recovery in the first year, but I got the basics. And what I was doing, I had my little book, and I was getting people to sign the days that the meetings that I was going to. And lo and behold, after the first year, I had most everybody in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, I had their phone numbers. So I knew how to call them, and I knew how it worked. So the first year I was made to come. The second year, I came because I wanted to. I came for me. And I've been coming, ever so often. Every once in a while. That's one thing I've never wavered on, going to meetings. Go to meetings regularly all the time. And we hear the same thing, get tired of the people talking, saying the same stuff, hearing the same stuff. But I know if I don't go, I know what's going to happen to me. And I know I don't want to go back to that life of dereliction, jails, institutions, dereliction, or death. I don't want to go back to that. I'm not doing anything I think that would take me to jail. And, most of the time I don't worry about dying or go to an institution, unless it's a mental institution. I mean, sometimes I think they ought to take me there. But I don't want to go back in that dereliction where I just feel like a piece of crap and can't get out of it, and, trying to get those drugs every day and blaming everybody for my problems. I blamed everybody for my problems and what was going on. And I went, one of the first meetings I remember that I went to was in Kanawha City in Charleston, and they were meeting downstairs. And every time I go back there, Friday night's my home group in Tays Valley Recovering the Fast Lane, in case I haven't shared that. I keep hoping the Eagles will show up, so, I sort of named that after them. And, but they had the high ceiling, and when they gave out the tags, it reverberated, when they clapped, and that always made a big impression on me. And then one of the other meetings I went to was Monday night at South Charleston, and there was a one-armed guy chairing, and him and another guy got into an argument, and they were about to get into a fist fight, and here I was with just a few days clean. I was right in the middle of them trying to break them up. So I was broken into Narcotics Anonymous, I guess in true fashion. It doesn't always have to be that way. Sometimes that's the way it is, but most of the time it's okay today. So I started going to meetings, and I met this guy named Denver W. He became my first sponsor, sponsored me for 12 years, and he was really very instrumental in my recovery. He didn't have a car, so I picked him up, and we went to meetings all over the state, a lot of them in Point Pleasant at that time. We went to Morgantown, saw Jamie and Belinda dancing. And I couldn't dance. I mean, the only way I could ever dance was if I had alcohol in my body. But even today, clean, I'll dance a little bit, and pray you're not watching. I just don't have that rhythm. But I stayed clean. Started working the steps with Denver. And he wasn't very much further along with me. He would work the first step, and I'd work the first step. He'd work the second step, and I'd work the second step. And, it just worked for me. I couldn't talk to anybody who had 5 years clean. That was just too much. I couldn't talk to them. And if they'd bring up a step past 6, if they'd go up to 6 or 7, I didn't know anything about those. And, I didn't think they should do that. I thought they ought to stay on 1, 2, and 3 for a while. But even if it's a higher step, there are principles in those steps that that we live by today, so we can always get something out of them. And then I got 2 years clean, and my wife at the time got jealous because she couldn't control me anymore. She was enabling me at the time, and so. She was jealous because I was spending all my time with those people, and she never really wasn't supportive. And so we ended up getting a divorce, which was pretty traumatic. And I saw my 9-year-old son move to Texas. And, even before that, my mother passed away when I had 1 year clean. And but I didn't have to use. I didn't have to use when she died. I didn't have to use when I got a divorce. I didn't have to use when I saw my son pass away. Sister died, brother died in recovery, and I didn't have to use. But one thing I did with my mother, of course, I wasn't on the amend step, but all she ever wanted me to do was to go to church. And so I said, "Hey, Mom, I'm doing well. I am going to church 5 days a week." That was no lie. I was going to a church 5 days a week. I mean, she was 92 years old. That was all I had to tell her. I didn't have to go into all the details. She might have thought I was still BSing, but it was the truth. I was going to church 5 days a week. Anyway, that made her happy. She got to see me. She got to see me clean, and then when she passed away. And so I've had to, whenever I was going through something, my sponsor would always say, "Well, work a first step on it." And it would always piss me off too. But I had to admit it was going on. I had to accept it. I had to surrender to it and quit fighting it. And I had to be honest about it. No matter what it was, I had to do that. The first thing was with my addiction, that I was an addict. That was real hard to do. I didn't want to share for at least a year. And today I don't have any problem. I could talk for hours, but hopefully just an hour tonight. Hopefully. Halfway. Oh, my goodness. And then the second step, I had to be open-minded and listen to what people were telling me. And I was pretty closed-minded. In the beginning, I didn't believe it worked, and I was going to, I think it was the Monday night meeting in South Charleston, and they passed a little basket, and draw out a topic, and every time I would get open-mindedness. So I would just put it back and pass because I didn't know anything about it. And I'm looking at Linda there. She, when I first came back, I thought I looked so good, and she said, "You look like you just crawled in out from under the bridge." And I thought I was looking so good. But and then the third step, and that was a tough one for me because I had a problem with God. But in the third step, I found the God of my understanding, and making that decision. And it's not doing it; it's making that decision to find the God of my understanding, and getting through the second step, and coming to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity with hard work. Power greater than myself can be the people in the rooms, the literature, just praying, whatever works. And then finding the God of my understanding, and doing an inventory, and sharing that stuff with my sponsor, and then looking at my character defects. I mean, goodness, my character defects is what I was. It's what I am. I didn't want to get rid of them. I would become a different person. But our basic text says we need to have a change in our personality. And I remember going through the sixth step. I told you I'm a dentist, and I've had in 40 years in practice or working on patients, I've had one lawsuit, and it just happened at this time. The mother thought I'd done some harm to her child, and they sued for like $125,000, and we went through the process, and we're going to court, and the lawyer was defending me, and he made them an offer of $25,000, and they refused it, and we went through the whole process, and they didn't get anything. And it just taught me that if we're greedy will never be satisfied. If we don't have humility, we will be humiliated. Some of the things that I hear about in the steps, and believe me, I've had to show some humility a lot of times that I've been here. I was giving out the chips one night in Cross Lanes, and fell flat on my butt right in the meeting. But I got back up, and early in my recovery, if I spilled a cup of coffee, I'd have run out of the room screaming. I'd been so embarrassed. But I've done a lot of dumb things. I'm sort of directionally dyslexic, and one time I came out. A little town in Eleanor that I work in, there were 2 cars in the parking lot at the post office, and I get in the wrong car. And I'm sitting there combing my hair and doing all this, and a woman's across the street just freaking, getting ready to call the police, and finally I realized I'm in the wrong car. And I don't know, I did that last week too. I think it's old-timers disease. I don't know. Would Kathy and Rose come up here and hold me up, please? I had to throw their name in there somewhere, 2 of my dear friends. And Sandra. Sandra will be jealous if I don't mention her name. I went on through the steps and made my amends. And the toughest ones, the ones I thought were going to be tough, were the easiest ones. The ones that I thought were going to be easy were the toughest ones. But like I said, I had made amends to my mother long before I ever got to that step. And one of the ones I remember the best was my little boy, when I asked him if he would forgive me for all the things that I'd done. And he said, "Of course, Daddy, because I love you." And that just sent chills up my spine, because I wish I could be like that today, like a little child that doesn't build up all the resentments and fear and hate and stuff that we get when we get older. Some other amends, one of them I just ran into a guy at the filling station, and I was really terrified of facing him. And I made amends to him, and he said, "Don't forget it, or don't bother about it. It wasn't anything." Well, it was too. It was something horrible that I'd done. And there was the one woman who literally was responsible for saving my life. I hated her, literally, because she was responsible for my intervention and getting me to treatment. And when I went to treatment, she was back at the office passing out my drugs. And I heard about this later, and I really resented her for that. How dare she use my drugs and pass them out while I'm sent down the river? But she literally saved my life. But I couldn't make amends to her, not at this particular time. But one day later, after I'd had a few years clean, she called me and made amends to me, and I was able to make amends to her. So this is just how this program works. It's really an amazing program. I go to work today, and I'm cutting back a little bit, but almost invariably the women will say, "I would rather have a baby than be here." So I have to say, well, let me know so I know how to position the chair. And the guys all come in and say, "We're not going to hurt each other now, are we?" A couple of you got that one. Anyway, I went through the 8th and 9th steps, and 10th step to me is dealing. First 9 steps are dealing with the past. I mean, let's face it, we have a lot of stuff in our lives, and we have to get rid of the stuff and surrender and get honest and do all that and do our inventory and all the stuff that we go through, and then we get to the 10th step where we can actually work on today. The 10th step to me is if I avoid the things that cause me pain, I won't have as much pain. And, I don't have to worry about all the stuff I'm doing. I know if it's causing me pain, if I quit doing it, then I won't have as much pain. And then the 11th step is such a beautiful step, praying only for knowledge of God's will for me and the power to carry that out. And praying and meditating and getting some emotional balance. I take a lot of baths, and I share about it so much that people think if they're taking a shower they're doing it wrong. But I say, no, go for it. Please take your shower. I like to take a bath and sit and enjoy it and chill out and meditate. And 11th step to me is trying to let other people be who they are without passing judgment on them. And, I'm still a pretty judgmental person. I can meet you and decide how many kids you have, how much money you have, where you work, what you do, whether you're a redneck or, what. And I try not to do that today. I know I am better with it today. But, I love the 11th step. And then 12th step is having had a spiritual awakening as a result of all these steps. And so it tells me that we have a spiritual awakening during all of the steps. There's been an awful lot of good things that's happened to me since I come to the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. I met a wonderful person. I've been in a relationship with him for 17 years. I haven't told this many people I'm bisexual. I mean, get over it. Nobody in here would think about such a thing. I just had to get honest. I had to get honest about stuff. And God, he and I had to go through therapy together. We were tearing each other's shirts off, arguing and fighting, and jumping out of chairs, jumping out of cars. But we worked the steps. He has his program, I have mine, in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. And then we had to get some outside help, and we did that. And today we have, I think it's a wonderful relationship. He's really supported me a lot, especially lately when I'm dealing with my youngest son. And, I really appreciate that. And I know earlier he didn't want me to talk too much about it because I was breaking his anonymity, but hell, 17 years, I think most people know. I mean, we aren't dumb. Well, anyway. Huh? I didn't name Wes? Oh, sorry. If you don't know by now, you're not going to know. But anyway, and our basic text says, our basic text is really a wonderful book. I mean, I picked it up this morning and was studying it. I know what I was going to say tonight. I was really concerned. I just felt blank. I didn't really feel worthy because I've been going through some stuff. And about a year ago, I did the fifth step with a sponsee, and he went out. I did another fifth step with a sponsee, and he disappeared. And the fifth step is a tough one. People they get through it and get on the sixth step. That's really tough. I've had more sponsees relapse on the sixth step than probably any step. Especially if they've been around for a while. So everybody talks about the fifth step being tough, but I don't think we want to look at our character defects and shortcomings. It does something to us. But I've had so many things happen to me in recovery. People ask me about sharing. I said I really didn't feel like I had anything, but I do have experience. I have 19 years experience going through my mother dying, my sister dying, getting a divorce, and another relationship, and kids and kids and kids and kids. I am so naive. I thought they'd turn 18 and they'd be self-supporting and leave home and take care of themselves. It ain't happening. But I have a younger son. Well, he's 25. Been going through the process of using drugs, still in denial, getting into a lot of trouble, driving without a license, and all kind of stuff, and just doesn't really have respect for the law. And I know he's sick. If I didn't know he was sick, I wouldn't be able to help him. And I'm helping him. I know I've enabled him too much, and that's what I'm working on, trying not to enable him. But believe me, if it's your kid, your spouse, your husband or wife, it hurts more. I mean, it hurts deep. I can tell sponsees and friends, what to do and stick by my guns, but it's harder when they're connected to you. But I've reached my bottom on this, and I've helped him about as much as I can. But I can't say it hasn't upset me, and Wes has been real supportive through all of that. And I really appreciate that. And when I was using, oh gosh, I remember we were watching a football game today. Of course, it brought back some of those memories. But there were times the little knoll with the new stadium before they built the new addition there that I was sitting on that little knoll smoking a joint right out there in front of 60, 70,000 people, thinking nothing of it. I think they probably saw me. That's why they added the seats on so I couldn't go back. I used to make a list when I went out to use. Believe me, I went to the bars to get loaded and get laid. I mean, that's just how simple it was. It wasn't simple, but I accomplished that pretty good. I was a success at that. I used to make my little list of the P's, pills, pot, poppers, penicillin, plenty of money. I would take all those with me, and I'd go down my little list and make sure I had enough to cover me for the night or the weekend, however long it took. One day, before I got clean, I had a robbery at my house, and later the state police found that stuff. There was a gun and coins and different things, and they called me over to identify it. So I did, and they had a big box of stuff sitting there, and they said, you're in the medical field. Can you use any of this? And I looked in the box, and there was bottles of Demerol, there was bottles of morphine, there was a bottle of cocaine. I said, yes, I can use this and this and this and this. I set it up on a shelf somewhere and didn't think much about it. And in the middle of my using, a light bulb came on. I said, damn, I still got that stuff in there. And I never thought I'd give myself an injection. I was never bad enough to give it in the vein, but I just gave it right here. So started getting my, yeah. I mean, I got a big abscess, a big place there. It looks like a vaccination now, but that was bad. You know, I did the cocaine. I'm so glad I didn't find the crack because it would I liked it too much. It would have killed me. And today with the meth and all the other stuff, I mean, it's really a sad situation. But you know, I made it through, and I see so many people, you know, come in and that are in denial. We had a guy who come in one time who stayed a year or so, and he was playing darts at the bar, and he had no problem with it. And we kept telling him, you can't go to the bar to play darts. You can't go to the bar to shoot pool. Eventually you'll get loaded. You know, what can I say? He kept going to play darts, and he darted right out of the room, I can tell you that. And it just happens. It just happens. It don't just happen. I mean, we have reservations in our program. I've had so many sponsees along the way. I probably had over 100 sponsees, and you know, they come and go. They stay for a while, and I chase some of them away, I guess. And I've still got a few today. One of them's working the steps. One of them's not, and I don't know what the hell the rest of them are doing. I mean, they're out there somewhere, but they show up every now and again with a little old lady on their arm, or they call me from jail or something. You know, it's just hard to get sometimes. But you know, life's pretty good today. I try to think of the positive things and not the negative. You know, I think you know, life is how we react to the negative things. You know, I see some people lose children and, you know, have deaths and whatever, and they go on. And then I see some people who use over a broken fingernail. So a couple people walking out, must be smoke time. But you know, life's pretty good today. I don't have a lot of money, but God's been good enough for me. I get to go see the Mountaineers play, and most of the time that's good. I get to go to Las Vegas. My oldest son's in Las Vegas. I get to go visit him. Get to go on cruises. Get to go to the beach. Yeah, life's wonderful. I don't know what I'm complaining about. I get upset over the little tiny things, not the big things. I got a Hemi, got a new Dodge Charger, and you know, I have no clue what it is, but I got one. But I tell you, when we were at the forum this evening, the regional forum, and the things that really excite me are, Jamie told me that we'd gone to an H&I meeting just last week, I guess, and that there were 3 of the clients here tonight, and that's what really excites me. Because we were talking about the power of 1 or 2 that can increase the membership to 5 and 10 and 20, and that's how Narcotics Anonymous got started. 1, 2 people started it, and then it went all over the world to hundreds of thousands of people today. And to me, that's what excites me. It excites me to go to an H&I meeting today and have someone actually listen or ask a question. It excites me to see people like that coming in. And what really excites me today is to know that all the friends that I have, and that all the people that I have in my book and sponsorship tree, and get to go to Florida to a sponsorship retreat, and get to visit my sponsor, Ernie, that lives in Florida. People said, why'd you ask Ernie to be your sponsor? I said, well, my name's Burt, and he's Ernie. And they're always asking me where Ernie is. So I just say, there he is. But Ernie has been really good for me. But if I could say anything, and I'm not going to talk much longer, but if I could say anything, it's just... you know, Narcotics Anonymous is a wonderful program. It saved my life, and I guess, all of your lives. And sometimes I take it lightly after being clean for a while. And I have, all of the people, all of the friends that I have, and I can't talk much about it because I'll start crying. But I really am grateful, that you people are in my life. And give yourself a break. Where else can you go where people have done the things that we've done, lied, stolen, cheated, manipulated. Well, I still manipulate, but done all those things. And we're still here, and we're trying to work on ourselves, and we're trying to be better people. So give yourself a break, and appreciate your friends. And one of the hardest things for me to do is if I'm having a problem with someone is just to go up to them and tell them I love them. But go up to someone tonight that you don't particularly care for and tell them you love them. Don't do it right away or they'll know. I know you don't like them. But I know I wasn't as dynamic as the speaker last night, but this is my story and I'm sticking to it. Thanks. I love you.
Hey, thanks, Burt. I'm trying to follow suggestions there. I love you, Burt. Okay. We'll recognize the committee members right now, but I want to put out a special thank you to everybody that's helped us put on this convention, that's helped us stack chairs, push stuff around, make coffee. We helped the coffee chair out. I want to thank you guys especially because y'all have helped us put on this convention. And we're going to start out with the most important position. David H. is our coffee chair. Stand up, David. Okay, in registration, we had registration vice chair Shane M. Registration chair Jerry A. Merchandise chair, we had Erica T. Better known as Batgirl. Convention Vice Chair, Rocco A. He ain't gonna stand up. Okay.
Who's the chair?
Me.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you. This is your convention as well as it is mine. Like I own it. I also have another announcement, and I forgot to announce earlier. Someone bought a CD yesterday that is blank, but it's written on. Blame it on. We love him, but you might want to listen to your CD. If you bought a CD of last night's speaker, please listen to it and make sure there's sound on it.
Bring it back, I'll give you two.
Bring it back and he'll give you another one. We'll replace it. Okay, at this time, man, hey Doug, get your butt up here. We're going to do state countdown.